Okay, so let's talk about the Castilian War. It's this really fascinating conflict from 1578, where somehow two different sides both claimed to be the winners.
I mean, how is that even possible? How can a single war produce two completely different victors? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. It's this incredible story about what actually happened versus what we choose to remember.
All right, so to understand this, we've got to go back to the 16th century. You've got two massive expanding powers, and they're basically on a collision course right in the middle of Southeast Asia. You have the powerful Bruneian Empire on one side and the super ambitious Spanish Empire on the other.
And things heated up fast. I mean, look at this timeline. Magellan makes contact in 1521, sure. But then Spain sets up a permanent base in Manila in 1565. And just 13 years later, boom, they're in a full-blown war with Brunei. This was not some slow, simmering tension. This was an explosion waiting to happen.
So you might be asking, what was the big deal? Well, it was kind of the perfect storm, really. It boiled down to three things: money, religion, and power. Spain wanted to control the super-lucrative spice trade. They also wanted to spread Christianity, which was a direct challenge to Brunei's role as a major Islamic power. And then, the real kicker, Brunei was actively supporting rebels fighting against the Spanish in the Philippines. So yeah, a fight was pretty much guaranteed.
Okay, so let's look at this from the Spanish point of view first. And one thing about the Spanish Empire, they were meticulous record keepers. Seriously, they wrote everything down. And their account of the war paints a picture of a quick, clean, and totally decisive victory.
So in April of 1578, the Spanish governor, Francisco de Sande, puts together this massive fleet. We're talking 40 ships, and on board you've got about 400 Spaniards, plus hundreds of soldiers from Mexico, over 1,000 Filipino allies, and get this, even 300 Bruneians who had switched sides. They were heading straight for the heart of the enemy.
And from their perspective, it was a total cakewalk. On April 14th, they meet Brunei's navy of 50 ships, but the Spanish had way better long-range cannons. After a few shots, the Bruneian fleet just scattered. 2 days later, the Spanish walk right into the capital city, and it's basically empty. The Sultan had fled. By April 20th, they've officially annexed the whole place. It looked like a textbook conquest.
But here's the twist. They only stayed for 72 days. So why leave after such a big win? Well, according to the Spanish records, it wasn't an army that beat them. It was disease. A massive outbreak of what was probably cholera or dysentery swept through their ranks. They claim it was so bad they were forced to pack up and leave.
Okay, so that's the Spanish version. But if you look at Brunei's side of the story, oh, it's completely different. They don't talk about a disease outbreak. Nope. Their story is one of defiance and incredible heroism. And right here, this is the heart of it all. You have one event, the Spanish withdrawal, with two totally opposite explanations. The Spanish say, we left because of sickness. The Bruneians say, no way, we kicked you out. And the hero of the Bruneian story is a man named Bendahara Sakam. He's this almost mythical figure, said to be the Sultan's own brother. The legend goes that after that initial defeat, he rallied 1,000 warriors and launched this relentless guerrilla-style war that made life impossible for the Spanish and eventually drove them out. He basically turns a devastating loss into an epic comeback story. Now, to be clear, most historians think this heroic tale of Bendahara Sakam probably developed, decades or even centuries after the actual war. But honestly, whether it's 100% historically accurate isn't really the point. This story became a cornerstone of Bruneian identity. It was a powerful foundational myth for the entire nation.
So where does that leave us? We've got these two totally different stories. How in the world do we make sense of them? Do we have to pick one? Or is it possible that both, in their own way, are telling us something true?
Well, like a lot of things in history, the answer isn't so simple. It's not really about who's lying and who's telling the truth. It's more like both stories reveal a different kind of truth. One is about what happened day to day, and the other is about what those events came to mean.
This chart really lays it out perfectly. Militarily, yeah, Spain won the battle. They took the capital. But did they gain any land in the long run? Nope. It ended up being what's called status quo ante bellum. Everything just went back to the way it was. So Spain gets to say, we won the fight, and Brunei gets to say, yeah, but we kept our independence. It's a win-win, kind of.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, the difference between history and memory. For the Spanish, it was just another entry in their logbooks, a successful military expedition that got cut short by a logistical nightmare.
But for Brunei, it became this powerful, unifying story of resistance. And that story, that memory, was way more important for their national spirit than the nitty-gritty details of what actually happened.
So, why do we even care about this war today? Because its legacy is huge. It wasn't just some minor fight. For Brunei, it proved they could survive an encounter with a massive European power and keep their independence. For Spain, it was a win because it secured their hold on the Philippines by stopping Brunei's influence from spreading. You could say this war drew a line in the sand, defining the absolute limit of Spanish power in the region.
I think what the Castilian War really teaches us is something profound about history itself. It's not just about what happened, it's about how we remember it. And sometimes the story of a victory can be even more powerful than the victory itself.
And that kind of makes you think, doesn't it? How many of our own national heroes, our own famous victories, were maybe born from defeats that we've just chosen to forget? It's a heck of a question, and it shows that the stories we tell ourselves are just as important as the events that inspired them.